Hello everyone, my name is Zach. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well today. And it's been a little while. You see my hair is short again. I have facial hair now, which is weird, but I kind of like it, so I've just been keeping it. Hope y'all have been good. As I said, I know I've been gone a little while, so I figured I'd start today's video by talking about where I've been. Basically, I was furloughed from my job from like mid-March to mid-June. June 10th or somewhere in there. I ended up getting called in back to work. I work at one of the theme parks here in Orlando, and it has been hot. It has been exhausting. It was a long summer. I was working 4 days a week, and I work at a ride that's housed in an open air building, so I was in the heat, in the sun for part of the day, and so on my days off, I didn't feel like filming. I didn't really feel like reading for most of the summer. It was a very long, very slumpy summer. And also my sister was living at home, so I didn't have the house to myself to film. And when I did not use that opportunity to film videos. I just used it to just chill and relax and enjoy the quiet house. So that's pretty much where I've been. I know I really don't owe you guys an explanation, or I don't owe you guys content, but I still feel kind of bad for disappearing. You guys were nice enough to come to my channel and watch my videos and leave me nice comments and subscribe and all that good stuff. And then I just kind of vanished for a little while, so I do apologize, but I'm here today. I don't want to start promising new content, every week or every other week or anything, because I don't know if I'm going to keep that promise, so I'll just say from here on out, new videos when I feel up to it. I'm going to do my best to get some videos out in the next few weeks, since I have been radio silent for like 2-3 months. Beyond that, it kind of depends on work, it kind of depends on the classes I'm doing, and how my parents' schedule goes, so we're just going to start playing it by ear from here on out. But I didn't want to spend this whole video apologizing or explaining plans or any of that jazz, so I figured instead I'd talk about books, what this channel is supposed to be about. And so today I think we're going to talk about all of the audiobooks I listened to between last time I saw you and today. So back in July, I got a trial for Scribd because I needed to read a poetry collection for Galactic Grimoire Book Club, which I'm going to link the Twitter for that in the description below, even though it seems like we're on hiatus. The starters of the book club, Meg from 1,000 Lives of Meg and Sam from Sarcasm Sci-Fi, haven't really said anything in the last couple of months, so I don't really know what's happening with it, but I am technically a host, so I figured I should take this time to actually mention it. But anyway, got the trial to read the poetry collection for that, and then forgot to cancel it, so I ended up becoming a full paid subscription. And since I paid for it, I figured I might as well get some use out of it and actually listen to some audiobooks, because, I hadn't done that in a while and I hadn't read anything in a while, so I was like, maybe should do that since I run a YouTube channel about books. So I looked at my physical TBR and I searched around to try to find something to listen to that I own, just to try to knock one off the physical TBR. And what I ended up listening to first was the first 2 novels in the Halo novel series. Now these are based on the games of the same name. Halo the Fall of Reach is a prequel to the first game. Halo the Flood is a novelization of the first game. And I have also listened to Halo First Strike, which is a kind of a bridging between Halo 1 and Halo 2. Now, I'm not going to pretend like these books are high art or anything, but I had the absolute time of my life listening to these books. They are just a ton of fun. I was introduced to Halo, I want to say I was 8 or 9 years old, by my godfather, and I've loved the series ever since. Something as I grew up, the games were coming out, and I would play them at friends' houses. I had some of the games myself. We would play online multiplayer sometimes if friends had an Xbox and an Xbox Live subscription. So Halo has a big place in my heart, and reading the novels just kind of took me back to childhood memories of playing the Super Soldier. I love it. What can I say? As I said, I don't know if you're not super into Halo or you're not really into sci-fi or military sci-fi. I don't really know if this is going to do much for you. However, it was really what I needed at the time. I think to me this is sort of my selection series, or I don't know, my Sarah J. Maas. Just books where you can understand why someone might read it and think it's garbage, but it's my garbage, so I'm okay with saying that. And I'm thinking of continuing the series. My problem is that the audiobook narrator for the first 3 books doesn't return for the later books in the series, which I think there's like 18 or something ridiculous now. I'm a little sad about that, so I'm trying to figure out if I want to continue physically or just try the new narrator, because the narrator for the first 3 books was like perfect for the tone of the books, and just really sad that he doesn't come back, but what can you do? So I think I gave Halo the Fall of Reach 5 stars, Halo the Flood 4 stars, just because there was some stuff in the game they try to kind of expand upon and make the story a little more deep, and to me that kind of just ruins the simple, fun nature of the story. And then Halo First Strike, I think I gave 4.5. Yeah, let's go with that. So moving on from the Halo novels, I listened to a book for the Sisterhood of the Traveling Books book club, which I will link the Twitter for that in the description below if you want to check it out. It's a ton of fun. People that run it are really great. They happen to be my friends, so I'm a little biased, but that's okay. But anyway, the book in question was The Devouring Grave by Christine Lynn Herman, I believe. The Devouring Grave, if you don't know, is a YA urban fantasy, I guess is how I'd classify it. And I don't really want to tell you any more than that because I went into the book almost completely blind, and I think it's a really good book for that. This book fills a niche for me that I have been searching for a long time, which is a book with the feel and elements of Silent Hill. Now, for once, I'm actually not talking about Silent Hill 2, I'm actually talking about the series as a whole, but really this book reminds me of Silent Hill Homecoming, which is an American-made game, not made by the original Japanese creators of the series, so, like, it shouldn't exist. But that game has a lot of interesting ideas with its story, and it kind of, like, screws them all up. And I saw a lot of the same elements here in The Devouring Grave, but done really well and done a lot more interesting, and also done in a YA setting that doesn't fall for the usual kind of pitfalls of YA. There's little to no emphasis on romance. There's a lot of focus on the relationship between the characters, the very complicated relationship between the characters, the relationship between the characters and their families, and kind of history and expectations, and in this small town and their reputations. I thought it was a really great book, and like I said, I don't really want to tell you too much because it is just a great book to go into blind. So I gave it 5 stars. I highly recommend it. I know there is a sequel, and the book led into the sequel very nicely. I'm a little scared to read it just because I've heard mixed things about it. So I guess I'll get to it eventually, but like, don't rush me. Continuing with the theme of knocking books off my physical TBR, recently I've wanted to kind of cut down my Stephen King collection, so I've been wanting to read through some of the books that I own that I haven't read yet. And one of the ones I wanted to read was part of an omnibus that I was thinking of getting rid of, the Bachman books, and the book in question is called Roadwork. Now, Roadwork has a bit of a reputation for being a little mundane. I think most times I see it rated, I see it ranked pretty low in his bibliography. It gets a lot of 3-star ratings, so I wasn't expecting much going into the book. But dear Lord, it did not even meet my low expectations. Roadwork is about a man whose house is being bought by the government through eminent domain because they're going to put an interstate extension where his neighborhood currently is. And he is really attached to the house for reasons they go into in the book. There's kind of a history with him and his family in this house, so he doesn't want to get rid of it. And so it's advertised to you as this like action-packed, man versus system, and he's going to be like destroying destruction equipment and, making this big stand, and you're thinking like big shootouts are going to take place. And while that does happen, it's very sparse throughout the novel, and most of the big action takes place in the last like 30 minutes of the audiobook, which is about 9 hours. It was boring. I did not connect with the main character. I thought he was a jackass and pretty unlikable at that. I think Stephen King was trying to go for this kind of like trauma and like, I don't even know, fixation on this house and like the physical and everything, but to me it didn't work, and I didn't really enjoy it. And plus, I'll say, and this isn't on Stephen King at all, the audiobook narrator, whose name I think is like G. Thomas Valiant, absolutely sucks at doing women's voices. like, every female character he does sounds like one of the voices you would do to, like, make fun of your female friends. Like, Mart! It sounds like the worst Marge Simpson impression ever, and that's every female character, which did not help the already bad content of the book itself. So, gave this 2 stars, thought it was boring, thought the character sucked, and I'm definitely unhauling the omnibus. I will get an unhaul up eventually, but I want to get a few more books on the unhaul pile before I film it. But you can expect quite a few Kings on there. I'll go ahead and just spoil that now. So I guess be on the lookout for that, like 2 months down the line, probably. It'll still be a while, but it's a coming. Then I started an audiobook, which I have not yet finished. I hope to finish it soon. Considering it's only 4 hours and I'm 2 hours in, it shouldn't take me too long. But that is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna Maguire. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series. The first book focuses on this house for kids who come back from, like, Wonderland type places, except they're not all so kind of whimsical and fantastical. Some of them are very dark. Some of them are very creepy in a way. And it's about the kids coming back and kind of their mental state and everything. This book focuses on 2 of the characters from the original story and their time spent in this sort of Wonderland, which it is very, very dark, very Shauna Maguire, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't want to, like, give a full rating until I finish it, but I mean, considering how good of a reputation this book has, how much I love Shauna Maguire's other work, and just how much I enjoyed the first book, I don't foresee it being less than 4 stars. It might even be a 5-star. One other thing I wanted to mention is that this book is actually narrated by Shauna herself, who goes way harder on this audiobook than she ever had to. But I hope she does more of her own audiobooks, because she's actually a great narrator, a great storyteller, and really puts a lot of emotion into the story, which I think is absolutely wonderful. So please have Shauna narrate more audiobooks if any of you work with her or are her. I think I would die if Shauna Maguire knew who I was. But the reason I did not finish Down Among the Sticks and Bones was because I had to read a book for another book club. In this case, Maddie the Book Pusher's Book Push Book Club, which I guess I'll just link Maddie's channel below. It's part of Patreon, her Patreon page, if you want to join in on it. I believe we're doing Vicious by V.E. Schwab this month. She does a public live show on her channel at the end of every month. It's usually the last Friday, so there you go for that. But last month we ended up doing The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and Scribd added this audiobook a week before the live show. And so I had a week to listen to it, and I had work like 3-4 days in that week. So it was a little bit of a rush, considering the audiobook is 19 hours long. But I did manage to do it. I had like an hour to spare, and kind of a mixed rating here. I certainly think this book is really great on a critical level, on a literary level. I could see why so many people fuck so hard with this trilogy and why they love it so much. I just don't think it was really meant for me, and I'll explain with that. My feelings have nothing to do with the recent book Twitter drama about whether or not the book is too smart for readers, or whether or not you understand Chinese history, which I somewhat want to make an entire video on that whole thing if you were following it. So I don't know if I'll go too deeply into it here, but I will say I think the book stands on its own without you knowing all the details of the Chinese real-life events that inspired it. I think the entire story makes sense without all that context. And I found enough things to relate to as someone who grew up in America that I don't think you need to be super into Chinese culture to identify with the character either. But that being said, the book is one where if you like books that are very intense emotionally, it is full of heartbreak, it is full of struggle, it is full of characters who have suffered bad things, who are broken and make bad decisions because they are broken, and have to deal with the consequences of those decisions that you know are bad decisions before the character actually makes them, then you're going to love this book. Me personally, I read mostly for escapism, and while yes, there does need to be struggle and a narrative to make victories meaningful, I personally wanted more victories enjoyed, if that makes sense. The emotional highs of the Poppy War are almost always bittersweet. There's always something that kind of goes wrong. The character gets what they want, but not quite, or something bad happens as they're getting what they want. And I found that frustrating and just really did not dig it. Like I said, some people love that, and I certainly think that is a viable type of story to tell. And so I'm kind of in the same place with this book as I was for Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter or City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, where, like I said, I can see the quality, and I think it's really good, and I would be lying to you if I said that it was a bad book. But I'd also be lying to you if I said that I loved it, or that I really enjoyed it, or that I would be excited to read it again or read one of the sequels. It's just not necessarily a book for me, and it's not too smart, and it's not that I wasn't smart enough to get it, because I did. It just wasn't what I particularly love in a book I choose to read. So for that reason, I would say it's a great book, but also not one that I terribly loved. And one more audiobook I'll mention that I did start as well that I still have not finished either is the third book in Dean Koontz' Frankenstein series. This is a modern retelling of Frankenstein. You've probably heard me talk about the series before. It's modern. It works in the kind of mythos of the original Frankenstein in a really interesting way. It's kind of a buddy cop story meets Frankenstein retelling meets Frankenstein continuation. It's weird, it's wacky, and I'm just having fun with it, really. I'm still really early in that one, so I don't know like if it gets really good, if it gets stale. I don't know, but I did start it, so I figured I'd just mention that real fast. And I think that's going to be all for now. Like I said, not going to promise new videos in any kind of specific time frame, but I do have a lot of ideas I want to get to. I am excited again about making content. I have some content I'm very excited about getting to soon, hopefully, rather than later. But until then, I guess I will say, if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe if you feel so inclined. And I will see you next time.